Hello there, yarn lovers, it's Gary and I'm coming to you from my happy place, the Yarn Corner here on Vancouver Island in Canada. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is Saturday, November the 11th, 2023, and I'm sitting here, the sun is setting, it's around 4:30, by 5 o'clock it'll be pitch dark. At these times of the year where I'm living, the days will be quite short, so if you see the sun going down and the lighting changing, I do apologize. I might have to flick on the electric light above me. So just a forewarning that there might be some lighting change. Here we are also reflecting back on, in Canada, it's Remembrance Day, being the 11th of the 11th. And we spent a minute just in silence, thinking of the fallen comrades who fought for our liberty. I believe it started from World War I. On the day that they declared amnesty. And yeah, so I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of our people who are in the armed services and those who had fallen in history to get us to where we are today. I know in the States they celebrate Veterans Day, they call it something different, but sort of the similar kind of idea. And I wanted to send my thank you to all the people who are in the services, the armed services. With that, I'm going to now switch gears and catch you up on what I've been up to in the last 2 weeks. I believe it's been 2 weeks since I did a last update on my crafting and talking about what I've been watching on TV and pictures and movies of Pixel. If you're interested, Pixel is my 7-month-old puppy who lives here in the house with me and my husband Chad, and I'll put all that towards the end so that all the yarny goodies would be up front. So yeah, there's a few things to catch you up on. If you're happening across this channel for the very first time, I want to welcome you, and I've set this channel up to talk about all of my yarny crafts. That's knitting, crocheting. I do dabble a little bit in yarn dyeing, and I talk about my acquisitions where I purchase my yarn and my tools and my craft from. So if that kind of thing is of interest, please stick around and think about hitting that subscribe button. To those returning, I want to say thank you so much for all of the kind messages and comments that you left in the last couple of videos. And that will lead us nicely into a segue talking about what Hank is wearing. Hank's my man form here. In my last video, I was talking about fluffy yarns and how to use them. That's all yarns like mohair or alpaca, sorry, and holding them together and what to make with them if you're thinking of how to use them, because they are a little bit velcro-y. They do like to stick together if you are wanting to frog them back. So some comments were like, people were telling me that they steer clear of the fuzzy yarns because of the fact that if they make a mistake, they're very hard to pull back. But I addressed some of that in the video. And so Hank is wearing my sampler that I made in crochet. And it's all to do with the rice stitch. So a very simple stitch using a 5mm crochet hook. And I talk about that in my last episode as well, which I'll link down below in the description box if you're interested in going back and seeing more about this piece here. Talks about what kind of yarns I use, as well as, you know, the problems I had with it, or if I rated the softness of each of the brands of fuzzy yarns. So I really think it looks great with the plaid shirt here and the jean jacket. I went then back in and I stitched in some interesting, I guess, line definitions on different colors to replicate a plaid shirt. And I talk all about that in the last video. You might hear that I have a frog in my throat. It's because I'm still getting over a cold, a flu that I had. It wasn't COVID. I thought maybe it might have been another bout because I've had COVID earlier on, like a couple of years back. And it wasn't. So thankfully not COVID, but I still feel the side effects of coughing and short of breath. I'm getting better, and I'm being able to do certain things again. So I'm coming back to my normal myself, which is great. And I wanted to thank all those people who wrote in the comments well wishes in recovering, all that sort of good stuff. So thank you. Keep me in your thoughts, and yeah, I'm sure I'll get there sooner rather than later, which will be nice. And so let's start by talking about my finished items. Now, some of these things that I'm making, they're with my ideas of what to gift out as we're getting closer to the holiday season, and gift giving is a big thing for some people. For us in my family and household and friends, we do like to give gifts. So some of these items are prototypes, but also potentially could be gifts themselves. So the first one that I'm going to showcase is a prototype for me, and then I'm going to now, because I've figured out how to work the pattern, I'm more confident with it, so I'm going to start making other items to gift to other people. So this is a set of gloves that my good friend Crystal over a Bag a Day has a tutorial on, and these are the easy crochet gloves, and they're the fingerless variety here. So I'll put them on for you. I'm using these ones to walk Pixel. So in the morning, it's really cold here, and I think the gloves keep my hands warm, but I can still have my fingers exposed, so I can maybe text if I'm on my phone, or I get a better sense of gripping the leash as well when I'm walking my puppy. So yeah, I really enjoyed making them. So Crystal's pattern, or I should say tutorial, is a free tutorial, and I'll list it down below. As with everything that I mentioned today, if you're looking for more information on something, please go to the description box to discover where you can find all of the things that I talk about. So what do you think? They're super, super duper warm. And I like the yarn that I used was very soft, and it's quite a durable, thick yarn. So it shields all the wind out of it, doesn't let anything through, which is a nice tight stitch, single crochets. And it's really soft, not itchy on my hands at all. So the yarn that I used was, I'm just going to see where I have that bag. Oh, it's over there. Hang on a minute. Back again. So this is the project bag that I was working my glove project out of, and it is a zipped quilted project bag which my friend Melinda created, and I absolutely love it. Thank you. It's a wonderful gift. These are the two yarns that I held together making those gloves. This multicolored one here I hand dyed myself a couple years ago when I was living back in Vancouver, and I dyed it on bare yarn from KnitPicks called Stroll, and it's a fingering weight yarn. So each of the color spurts, very autumnal color, are maybe 3 inches long or thereabouts. So the majority of it is still quite a bare yarn, but it does fade in and out of certain colors. And I named this it was the Faded Forest. And this one here I held together. It's let me get the ball band for you. I'm not really sure if this one has the brand name Puna or the collection name is Puna. But underneath here, there is another word called Amano. So Puna by Amano. So maybe the Puna is the collection and the Amano is the brand of yarn. And it is 100% baby alpaca. It was wonderful to work with, and it's so deliciously soft. This color is 4001, or I did look it up. It's called Andean Sunrise. So it's kind of a green, but it does have other colors in there as well. So I see a lot of warmer tones in there as well. Not sure whether they would classify as beige or like a brown, but there is definitely green. And I held them together. I used about, I'm going to say 80 grams for the two hand gloves. And so maybe in my mind, I'm thinking it was probably 40 grams per glove. And I absolutely enjoyed the tutorial. It was very easy to follow, and they keep my hands nice and toasty warm. So that's them again. Let me know what you think. So I'm thinking about making more of these for Christmas presents. This is my prototype just to see how I could use them and how they felt after a few wears. And I think they're going to be a great gift for Christmas to redo again in a different yarn. So thank you, Crystal. That was a great tutorial. Okay, the next item that I have finished is what you saw 2/3 of the way done in my last update, and now it's finished. It's called the Bush Tracker Beanie, and it's one of my patterns. I was doing a test on this yarn I was reviewing from Michaels. It's called Caron Macchiato Cake. The colorway is called Soulful, and I wanted to see whether or not this was a nice yarn to work up, and whether it would wash and wear well, whether there would be any peeling. My initial thoughts when I was working with it was that it did shed a lot, so that all these fuzzy bits kind of come off as you're like holding your yarn with your hand to create tension. After maybe a couple of yards, there would be a little bubble of fluff that needed to be gleaned off of your feeding finger or the tension finger. And so it was a little bit concerning for me, but I have worn it a couple of times, and I did hand wash it as per the instructions, laid flat to dry. And I'm happy to report there's no peeling just yet. And the yarn did settle down a little bit, like there were not as many flyaways as there were when I was working with it. So I guess so far so good, with about a week or two of wearing and using it. So yeah. And if you're looking for this Bush Tracker Beanie pattern, I have it linked down below in the description box. It is a free pattern that I created, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's got the herringbone stitch. It uses 3 types of needle sizes, but for this version, I used 2 sizes because when I'm usually building the knitting to the pattern, my 5-weight yarn that it requires is a nice big fat bulky 5, so I do go through the full 3 ranges of needle sizes. But because this macchiato cake, they say it's a 5-weight on the label, but it really works up more like a worsted weight or a 4-weight. So I didn't need to consider using the larger size needle, which was my 3rd size needle in the pattern. I just stuck with the first 2 sizes, and yeah, it was a nice fabric that it made up. If I went a bit higher with the larger size needle on the pattern, when it jumps in and requests a 10mm, there would have been too many holes in the fabric in the end. So yeah, I treated it more like a worsted weight. So maybe when you have the macchiato cake and you sort of are using it, let me know if you felt that it was more like a 4-weight yarn than a 5-weight yarn. Sometimes they do that when they classify yarns. They may take into consideration the halo or fuzzy bit, but I found, yes, those types of yarns need to be classified differently because you want to get the best fabric in the end, so maybe a more relaxed stitch. But for a beanie or a hat, I don't want a relaxed stitch. I want more structure. So yeah, I would say that for this purpose and this project, the macchiato worked out more like a worsted weight. Now this one here I have done before, but I did another one because I'm going to be gifting this one out, and it is the Bubbly, which is a brioche hat, knit hat by the designer called, I'm gonna maybe mispronounce the surname or the family name, Julie Dubreux. I think it's Dubreux. And she is part of her company or organization is called Julie Knits in Paris. But look at that. Isn't that texture so amazing? And right at the cap here, the way it played out with the colors, there looks to be a flower on the top crown. It's just, I don't know, I'm in love with this pattern. I love it so much. It was a big learn for me when the first one that I did, I was training, well, not training, but I was learning how to decrease and increase in brioche. But it's opened up so many avenues now for me to feel confident in tackling other brioche patterns that use the decrease and increase. But I think it looks like peacock feathers, or depending on what kind of colors you use, I guess other things would come to mind in your imagination when you're looking at this design. Some people have said it reminded them of water droplets or candle lights, or I don't know, for me, in this color arrangement, I think of like a garden of roses, or yeah, I'm in love with it. It come out very squishy as well. It calls for the pattern. It's called Bubbly. Here it is here. It's a paid for pattern. It's written out row by row, as well as there is a chart on the other side here, so you can, if you feel more comfortable with reading a chart, absolutely love it. So the yarn that I used was this is Willow yarns called Rise, and it is a cotton acrylic blend. I had reservations about using cotton for a hat, or it's a cotton acrylic blend hat, but in the end, when I worked with it, I thought it was flexible enough and it bounces back nicely. It's not like cotton that sort of stretches and then it loses its form. I think it holds up very nicely. And the colorway is called Seafoam. The second yarn that I'm holding here is a self-striping yarn. Now this was a bit of a leftover ball, and I've lost the label, so I'm not too sure what the colorway is called or what kind of yarn it was. But for me, I think it was an acrylic yarn. And from memory, I'm just guessing here, it could have been also a Willow's, a Herrschners Puff Pastry Cake, or a Caron Skinny Cake. So one of those two styles of yarn. And let's take a look on the inside and see that, because brioche does give you the chance to have reversible patterns, this is what the inside looks like. So you're seeing a lot more of that Seafoam from Willow Rise and less of the striped yarn. But what an interesting, I would even wear it this way as well. So it's super, super squishy and soft, and there's no itch to it. And again, a great, easy make for a gift for Christmas or for a holiday, whatever holidays you celebrate. So there's my Bubbly number 2 that I did. Now, before I forget, in the Bubbly, I followed the pattern's instruction to use a 4mm knitting needle, and mine were the Chargu stainless steel that I had purchased a while back, the interchangeable set. And I worked it up to about here using the 16-inch cable, and then I switched to double pointed needles, and I went down to, I believe it's a 3.25 millimeter set of double pointed needles, and I closed her up using those. I think that was probably a better thing for me to do, because I do tend to knit loose, so I kind of like the decreases to be nice and tight, so there's no kind of like strands of extra loopy bits that might kind of, you know, worm their way out. So yeah, I did close it off using a slightly smaller double pointed needle. But yeah, I absolutely love it. And now we're going to move on to whips. So I have been working on several of my larger project whips, which I won't show here because yeah, I mean, they're just squares that I've been working on, and I have around 15 to 16 squares that I completed in the last 2 weeks for my nature's walk. But it's all to do with a square called Sunshine, and I've kind of moved on from Sunshine now. I'm picking the next square up, and I'll be doing another 14 to 16 of that square as well, because in the end I want to do maybe 140 to 160 squares and put them all together for a large queen size blanket spread. So more on that when I have maybe got halfway through those squares, and then I can show you and talk about the yarn that I'm using. But I'm going to show you what I have been working on. It's a new cast on, and this is also a knitted project. I held last November, actually a year ago, I did a Bush Tracker Beanie make along, and it was for the month of November. And for the prize that I awarded at the end of the make along, where people had submitted their photographs, was some dyed yarn, and it was in that same colorway, the Faded Forest. The winner of the yarn, Judy, sent me what she had made, and that was maybe around 8 months ago. I received an email with this wonderful cowl that she had made from the with the yarn, and so it spurred me on to go and take a look at what the pattern was. And you know, I purchased the pattern. This is a paid for pattern. It's called the Willow Cowl by Amelia Leon. That's it there. I won't show you too much, although the first page is all about what you need, so it's not giving away too much of the pattern. It's telling you what yarn you need, how much, what was used in the picture, and needle sizes, so the gauge. So I thought I would start this cowl as well and see how it was all created and stuff. So I'm finding it very interesting. I've already done something wrong, and that was, I believe I had pulled a fingering weight yarn from my stash to work on, and it ended up being a DK weight yarn, but a thinner DK weight yarn. So I am not going to have enough, because it calls for the hanker fingering weight yarn to be around 350 to 420 yards, and the amount that I have in my DK is only 240 yards. And it is a hand-dyed yarn that I did myself, again around the same time frame as the previous Faded Forest, but this one is more of the, it's like peacock colors, like, so you have really nice blue and greens, so more tealy colors. And I haven't given it a name, so I don't know what it's called, but this is what I had dyed on Hawthorn DK weight yarn, and this is a, I think, superwash merino with a bit of nylon. So you can see that there is a definite twist in there on the ply, and it's lovely and gives that great rustic look without the rustic kind of itchiness, which is great. I love it, and it washes up and wears softer as well. So there's a whole series on KnitPicks in their Hawthorn range, but they are also DK or fingering. So you don't want to make the same mistake as what I did with this one, grabbing at it thinking it was fingering weight, when in fact it is the DK weight version. So yeah, this is where I'm at. And because I am going to be running out of this yarn, I had to find another yarn to pair it with. So my idea in the pattern, when I looked at it, it does undulate between the lace and then regular stocking stitch or stockinette stitch. So it does kind of like bulge out. So there are ripples in this fabric. And I'm thinking of doing each of the ripply bit where the lace is in the alternate. So this will be my hand dyed, the first one that I completed. The second one up here will be in this blue color, which is a beautiful, I don't know what you would call that. It's like electric blue. And I'm going to do the next lace section, which will be the bulgy bit in this blue, and then alternate with the next one being the multicolored. And again, I've lost the labels because I just went into my stash and these were already balled up, ready to go because I had used them in other projects. So I'm holding these two fingering weight yarns together to create something that's very similar to the DK weight yarn of the Hawthorn Bear yarn that I over dyed. So yeah, I love this blue. It's amazing. So I'm using a 3.75mm set of Chagu knitting needles, and the circumference on this one is a 24-inch. And I'm liking the effect of it. It's going to be a little bit more louder, I guess, like a statement piece. It'll sit quite nicely, like rippling. Almost looks like a reptile there, doesn't it? Maybe a chameleon or something, the scaly skin. But yeah, I think it's going to work up really nicely. And I'm enjoying it because every time I get bored of the stocking stitch, I get to the lace stitch and I'm kind of like, keeps my interest. And yeah, without giving too much away of the pattern, it starts off already in the first 16 rows of this pattern. It captured my interest because it did something very different to what I've done before in the past. And I'm not going to say anything, but I just will show you this little area here. A very interesting start to a cowl pattern. But yeah, I am housing this project in a gifted bag which was made from Billy, and Billy is the Floridian crafter, or the crafty Floridian. I always do that. In my mind I kind of jumble the words around. Hi Billy. And she created this, but it was a gift given to me by a friend called Shirley. So thank you, Shirley, because I'm in a past artistic endeavor in my life. I used to do ceramics, and hopefully one day I'll get back to pottery, but this beautiful fabric has pots on it, so urns. I absolutely love it. So that covers what I've got to talk about with the work that I did over the last 2 weeks. And now I'm going to shift gears. And do you like my imaginary car? And I'm going to be moving on into talk about things that I've been up to in my community over the last 2 weeks, since the last time I updated you. But if you're only interested in the yarny good stuff and you want to move on with your day, cut out of here, I want to thank you for showing up and to stay this long. So I'll see you in the next video. But if you want to stick around, and there is some yarny stuff that I'm going to talk about here, so if you want to stick around, then please do. It has been an interesting 2 weeks, mixed of you know, feeling a little under the weather with the flu and having a couple of days off. Quiet days where I could craft and work on some things like what Hank is wearing and some of the stuff that I've been showing you. I also attended some things. So I'll turn back the time and we are going to now talk about just before Halloween, where I applied to join in on the Fiber Hustles bingo, which fell the Saturday before Halloween. And I was accepted to go and, you know, partake because it is quite a popular event and they do have 2 seatings. So you join in Zoom and you know, we were given a couple of I think three games were played of bingo. Now bingo, the numbered bingos, there wasn't any other way of playing the game. It was just the classic US version of bingo. And so game 1, the prerequisite was that everyone had to get dressed up in a Halloween costume. So I went, I think, as the most PG of characters because Chad is a teacher and our tickle trunk is full of costumes that are more youth oriented, like youth as in like elementary school, say 10 and down, 10 years old to down. And so I had a choice of a Bumblebee or a Sesame Street character, or what else did we have in there? Pirates, whatever. I was a pirate last time that I went to do Fiber Hustles Halloween, so I had to come up with a new costume. So I went as a Sesame Street character, I think they're Sesame Street, called Yip Yip. So Yip Yip is this huge, massive sock costume with a huge mouth made from black mesh so that you can't see the person underneath. And then on top are these big bulging eyes with antenna with pom-poms on the end. Granted, it was quite a nice sunny day. As you have witnessed, the sun comes in beaming in through that window. So I sat in the room here playing bingo and it was sweaty underneath, but I did love all the other people dressed in amazing costumes, far like more extravagant than the one that I was wearing and way more adult. But fun was to be had and it was had. So we played 3 games of bingo. The first one, I won. I think it was in a record time of maybe 12 numbers were called. And I had to do the classic 1 line of numbers and having the center one being free space. That I think in 12 numbers that were called, the game was done. So I just received my winnings. Now, I'm not sure whether the donator of these winnings wants to be, I guess, you know, announced on a public channel or whatever. So I'm going to keep the name to myself. But thank you so much. You know who you are. You sent me the yarn and the book that was part of the gift that was donated for the bingo. And oh my Lord, this yarn is just gorgeous. So it came in a bundle set like this. There are 2 full hanks and 1 little baby mini. It's deliciously soft. Yeah, I would definitely rate this a 4 out of 5, 5 being the softest on the softer scale. So I'm going to give it a nice solid, 4. It's not itchy, it's robust, it's a bouncy yarn, and I've never heard of this brand before, but let's read about it. So if I can just maybe untie them so we can take a look-see at the labels. Okay, the first one here I've got is this dark color, and I've lost my sunlight. The sun has set. And this one is called Black Pearl. Oh, the brand is called Dream in Color Yarn. That's the label there, Dream in Color Yarn. And it's a wonderful color. I love it. It's black, but it has other bits and pieces inside of it. I absolutely think that that's going to work up nicely. And what I'm going to do is turn the light on so that we can see it a little better. Hang on a moment. Let's take a look at that again. Yeah. It has a little bit of a sheen to it as well, and some fuzz. It does have a bit of a halo like that. Okay, let's talk about the fiber and how much I get in here. It's on a fiber base called Classy Worsted Weight, and it is 100% superwash merino. I'm getting 4 ounces, which is slightly more than 100 grams, and in that is 250 yards. So what does that make it? Worsted, maybe? I'm going to say it's a 3 weight. They're suggesting here to use US size 7 needles. I don't know what that is in millimeters. I always do this, don't I? And recommendation for care instructions is machine washing cold. You can lay flat to dry or tumble dry low and remove it before it is completely dry, so when it's still damp. Here, that's it. Don't know where it's made. Must be an American yarn, maybe? Does it say made in, where does it say it's made? Everyday wear daily? Nope. I don't know. Anyway, the number is 002. This one equally beautiful. It's called Rain on Me. The number is 079. Again, the same stats, same yarn base. Absolutely love it. Look at that. Has that jeans washy kind of feel. A little bit of tone in there. And I know the perfect yarn, because I bought a set of DK weight yarns from a fair, and I think these 2 yarns will go very well with the color arrangement that I purchased from the fair. And I don't know what they're called. Small bird. I think they're called small bird yarn. And these will go really nicely with them. And then additionally, it's probably the same yarn base, the Classy yarn base, and it's in this beautiful oxblood style braid here. Not a braid, but a hank. Yeah, I like that. Yep. And I think I could wear that against my skin with no issues. But the yarn that I'm thinking of pairing it with, it's a little bit more rustic. So definitely I'm going to have to wear something if I make a garment with the Romney yarn. I think it's Romney yarn. And with this one. But thank you. Not only did I get the yarn, I'll just put that back on the bag there. I got a publication of Lane, which is a knitting magazine. And each time they release the magazine, it generally has a focus on a certain designer or a type of garment or style of fabric, whether it's cable or if it's color work. And then they throw together little stories and they highlight the patterns. There's generally around a dozen patterns. And I've taken a quick look at some of the patterns. I know that the photograph doesn't give you too much information on what the work looks like. So it does leave a bit of imagination. There's one there. It's like a cardigan. I see that one. Beautiful illustrated. There's a shawl. Like photographed, I should say, not illustrated, but photographed work. And this is the one that interests me when I was looking at it. It's this cardigan here. Yeah, so there are fingerless gloves in here. There's some scarves, cardigan, and then how they've laid it out is that the editorial photos are in the front along with lots of ads. And then in the back of the book, it tells you the pattern and how to create them. So yeah, really, really nice magazine. And I've already picked maybe one or two from here that I'd like to make. So that was my Halloween. Prior to Halloween, I should say, the Halloween bingo. And I just wanted to thank Erin and Chip, who are the hosts of Fiber Hustle, doing such a great job in keeping us all entertained over the course of 2 hours when we played bingo. And we were the first, I guess, group. And then there was a whole entire another group coming in straight after us. So it must have been a long day for Erin and Chip. So I want to say thank you so much. I had so much fun. They also got a podcast, and I'll include their podcast link down below. Excuse me a moment. Okay, moving right along to Halloween itself. We were expecting some trick-or-treaters, which was what happened last year. We were equipped with many of those mini wrapped individual candies, like chocolate bars that you purchase in the big boxes, and there's like an assortment of different flavors and delights. So I think we got 125 little candies, and then we added to it another 50. So what is that, 175 little individual wrappers, and I think in the end we had like maybe 20 left over. Only 20 to 30 people came to the door, and we live in like off the main road or off the street, so it's a little difficult to know that we were kind of like open for candies and stuff like that, like trick-or-treating. But a few people did wander into the complex, and we were fortunate to see some interesting costumes. I was eager to find out what the costumes were, so I was genuinely asking with interest, what are you like, tell me about your costume. So they were delighted in telling me all about like whether they're from a manga cartoon or anime or whatever. And over my head, because a lot of the new characters I'm not familiar with. So I was well educated. After, I think, an hour and a half, they all cleared out. And we were left with 30 of the little candies. Not for too much longer, because I think they were all gone in about 3 days, because me and Chad just treated ourselves after a meal or whatever. We had a handful here, handful there, as you do. The next exciting thing that I'm going to tell you about is I got an email from Thris. Now, Thris has a YouTube channel here. Her channel is called Thris in Stitches, and she does yarn dyeing, and occasionally her segment on her channel is that she'll dye yarn live. And she's a great crafter. I catch up with her blogs occasionally, and I think I got caught of Thris maybe around 8 months ago. I thought she was a very intriguing crafter, and the way that she describes things, oh, well, I'm just hanging on to find out more about like what she has to say about certain things that she's dyeing up, or, colors that she's, melding together, and seeing what comes of her makes. So I do enjoy watching Thris, and the email suggested that she would like me to consider being a person she could dye a colorway to. And I was like, or colorway for. And I said, oh my goodness, I'm so like gobsmacked. I'm really beside myself. I'm really honored. And yes, I would love that. That would be awesome. So in her live on Thursday that just passed, I managed to cut out a bit earlier from a previous engagement that I had, get home, and as I was cooking dinner, I was watching Thris's live as she was cooking up in her little area that she makes these colorways. She was cooking up something that resembled me, and I thought, wow, she was using colors like orange, yellow, green, brown, and they're very autumnal colors, and from what I could tell on screen, because as we all know, without, you know, being there in person, things can look a little different when you're watching it from your monitor. So I absolutely thought the colors looked magical together. It was almost like a dreamscape in my mind, because I could see landscape in the work, and a capture in the time of year as well. And I thought, wow. And so Thris said that she would send me the yarn. I offered to pay, but she said no, she's going to gift it to me. And when I have it in my hands to show you, I will show you the colorway that Thris came up with for resembling me. And I love it. I don't know what to say. It's just like, what do you say? I'm really touched and honored. So thank you, Thris. Yeah, again, if you don't know who Thris is, I will leave her channel down below, along with all the other people that I've mentioned. Erin and Chip at Fiber Hustle, and Crystal from Bag a Day. As always, she's such a delight to have in my life, and I always honor every moment that we have to share. If we're conversing, if we're talking, yeah, I really value all the people here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So now I'm going to talk about what I've been watching on TV, and these are some intriguing series that I have for you. Now give me a chance, because they do sound a little, the titles do sound a little bit sort of misleading, and I think that these do have the need to watch maybe 1 or 2 episodes just to see if you'll like them, and whether you'll you know, be drawn into the story or attach yourself to a certain character. And I have one here called Bodies. It is featuring on Netflix, so if you've got Netflix, this will be available to you. I'll read you the synopsis of what was written up on Wikipedia. So this series consists of 8 episodes and premiered on Netflix on the 19th of October 2023. The story starts with the appearance of a dead body in Long Harvest Lane in London. This event happens in the same location in 4 different years: 1890, 1941, 2023, and 2053. So it goes back in the past all the way through to the present and then into the future, and leads to 4 different detective investigations. Yes, I'm not going to say too much more about it than what I've just read from Wikipedia, because I don't want to unravel the woven story here and give away the gist of the secret. So I'll let you discover whether or not you like it. But if you've watched it, I'm interested to find out whether you gravitated to one of the periods more than the other. So let me know in the comments down below whether you were interested in one or maybe 2 of the time frames overall, overall the stories. The second one that I have here is called Patient, or The Patient, and it's on Disney Plus. So this is what is said. It's a very short and sweet synopsis. It's a therapist. It's Steve Carell. He's the actor who plays the therapist. Is held captive by a serial killer, and his name is the real actor's name is Domhnall Gleeson, who seeks help to curb his homicidal urges. So I wouldn't say that there are gruesome scenes in any of the episodes of The Patient. I believe there's probably around 8 episodes as well. And the language is okay. It's really a therapy session that is intriguing to see if the character who is the psychologist can cure the guy in time or not. So that's pretty much a time frame. There's a time frame to this story, and yeah, it encapsulates in 8 episodes. So if you're intrigued by the first 2 of them, I think you can manage the rest of the 6 episodes to find out what goes on. Yeah, so what else has been going on? So I do have some Pixel stories, which again is my 7-month puppy. She has been going through the ringer a bit, I guess, in the last 2 weeks, because we took her to the vet and we had her spay, and she's recovered nicely. Like there was definitely a 10-day, 2-week advisory, kind of keep her calm, keep her quiet, don't let her jump or do those doggy puppy things. No playtime for a while. And so we managed to kind of like curb some of her enthusiasm. But I think by day 3 or 4, she was like, she had all this banked up energy. And I think she was going a little crazy. So we had to, you know, continually look to see whether there was any damage or whether she was okay. But she's made it through and she's healed nicely. So that's what's been happening here with Pixel. And what else can I tell you? I think other than like being at home for a few days, laying low, Pixel and I were keeping each other company. Like we were patients who were in a ward recovering from, you know, whatever. In her instance, it was surgery. In my instance, it was the flu. So I think we were really good kind of roommates in that sense. And with that, I think I have some footage that I'll tag onto the end here of Pixel, and I will see you in the next episode. Again, Remembrance Day. I want to thank all of the veterans and the armed forces for their service. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.